Hey everybody, it's Strict9 with Strict9 GP, and welcome to another episode of my Out of the Park Baseball 19 playthrough with the Phillies. We're on episode 24, so we're getting up there in the episode numbers for this one. And I'm still hoping I can make it to the World Series, win the World Series before I close this one out. But uh, if you've been following along till this point, you remember that last year was a very tough year for us. 69 wins, I think, or 68. One of the worst seasons we've had since I've been doing this playthrough. And I started with the 2017 season in version 18 of Out of the Park Baseball. So a lot of seasons, 18 years, fell below 500 with that disastrous year last year. So I'm hoping to get back to 500 or better this year. I'll take a look this episode. I'll take a look at the offseason, how it played out for us, what we finished up doing. But I wanted to start by looking at our goals for this year. After last year, a manager or owner who just signed me for just a 1-year extension, he's given me some room here to grow back into competition or to turn this team back to where it's competitive. He's only expecting us to play close to 500 ball this year. I feel like that's something we can do with the moves that we made. He wanted me to upgrade at left field, but I'm telling you, I really think Kevin Cox is a guy I drafted in the first round, and he was up last year, was actually player of the month or rookie of the month at one point in the season. So I feel like he is going to be an upgrade at left field. I think give him one more year, he'll settle in hopefully to that starting role and be good. I think my scouts already got him up to like three and a half stars already with some potential to grow. And hopefully the owner will be happy with the way he turns out if he does that. And we want to improve defensive efficiency. Hope we can do that. We didn't get to sign Juan Ochoa. Just didn't have room for him with some of the young outfield guys we have. And we did acquire a nationally popular player in J.J. Lohman. I'll take a look at that too, just to recap our offseason moves. And he's wanting us to reach the World Series by 2037. So we're just now starting the 2034 season. So that gives us, 3 years to make it. I'm hoping we can do that. But I'm going to look at the offseason center to start this one, and then we'll look at the lineups and rosters and rotation for spring training, and might take a look too at the Hall of Fame voting. Those are all the things that have happened since the last episode. So first off, the off-season center, I like looking at how I stack up with the rest of the league in terms of the wins above replacement. And I think you might be able to sort this another way, but I think this gives you a good snapshot of how you improved or didn't improve over the offseason. And for us, we're about dead center. We're 16th overall in terms of wins above replacement gained. We were at a negative 1.5. The Reds in Milwaukee had and Orioles, they had tough offseason, but the Cubs had a big offseason, 10.4 wins above replacement gain. And that was mainly with they picked up Justin Bellinger. Some guys here who were positive in wins above replacement, so they had a pretty good offseason. Probably got some depth on the team. And then in our division, the Mets, they had a pretty good one. The Braves had a pretty good offseason, so they were above us. We're down here with the Marlins in terms of how our offseason went. But looking at the recap, we lost Cameron Tennessee. We traded him away to Oakland. We traded Vanden Heuvel away to Oakland, mainly because of the signings that I had in the offseason. We lost Francisco Mejia to free agency, and we also lost a few guys here that I hadn't really figured were going to be a part of the team. So no big losses outside of those two guys, and they were starting for me last year, but I really feel like they're 2.5 star players. That's pretty much their ceiling. I don't expect them to be everyday starters in the league. They're not going to be too productive. And then for the guys that I picked up, I went with an international free agent, Yiking Ma, who I'm putting it second for right now, and I'm hoping that he improves a little bit defensively. But this guy looks outstanding offensively. He's a 5-star rated player from my scout. Got good speed, good power, good gap power, good contact. And I signed him to a fairly long contract, not too heavy, even though he's he's untested in this league, so it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. But if he does really well, my guess is he'll take up a player option 4 seasons in. But if he doesn't, I think that's pretty good. An average of, what is it, about $14 million a year for 6 years. Not a bad contract. And then the biggest signing that I had was with J.J. Lohman, who I'm going to keep at third base for now, but if I've got some prospects who develop at third, he might be able to go to first. And that we'll see how that plays out, but that might be where he winds up with me. But I signed him pretty long term through the 2039 season, that last season of player option. 6 years, $18.8 million. Pretty good for the kind of player he is. He was nationally popular, so that satisfied my owner goal. But he's had some up and down seasons, but when he is good, he is a 5+ wins above replacement player. And if you watched last season, it's really been the offense that's carried this team when we have made the playoffs. Last year, our offense completely tanked, and so that was a big goal of mine in the offseason to improve the offense. So I think I did that, but it's going to be tough to see how it plays out. A lot of this year is going to depend on how some of these prospects start playing, and if those 2 signings were the right move or not. Before I look at the team, I'll go ahead and take a look, because I always think it's interesting to look. We're pretty far along now in the playthrough, but I like to see keep up with that Hall of Fame voting. And this year, Chris Sale actually got inducted in his 3rd year in. Joey Votto still not making it. I've been voting for him pretty much every year, but Chris Sale made it mainly on the run that he had there in 2017. Well, he had a pretty decent run from 2012 through 20, but that was it. 3 years in a row he won 20 plus. He was a 2-time Cy Young Award winner, but I'm kind of surprised that he got the nod in the Hall of Fame with some of the other pitchers out there. Like Bumgarner has more career wins, for instance. Same with Johnny Cueto. I was surprised to see him get it that quickly. But now I want to look at how we look going into spring training. That's what I'll do. I'll sim out spring training, and then we'll look at the performances, and I'll make those final decisions probably offline. But here's what we're going to be doing for the pitching staff. So if I look at the ratings here, it's pretty tough. I don't have anyone above 3 stars, and Kentelme, who's coming off an all-star year, had a good year last year. I'm going to go with Ood and Kentelme, the first 2 slots there, then Yoakum, McSparron, and Babone. I'm going to put him in that 5th spot and hope that he makes it, because he's got good stamina, 3 solid pitches, and his ratings for the most part are not too bad. He's looked good in a few call-ups that he's had for me. He's looked good at AAA at times, but he's a 2-star guy. He's probably going to be the best that I've got. But I am going to go, in the spring training, I go with a 6-man rotation. I'm going to give this guy some time in that starting rotation. I feel like he's going to be a better fit in the bullpen if he would just develop that one more pitch. He's got good stamina, but really good stuff. I hope that he does a little bit more improvement. And there's another guy, had he not been on the disabled list, Alfredo Espinal. I think there's more upside for him as a starter, even though his stamina is not that great. I think you could probably put him in that fifth spot, and he'll give you six innings or so, 5-6 innings when he's really good, and that might be a good option long term. But right now, his ratings are really good too. But he's going to be injured for the start of the season. Probably won't see him till around May or so, and we'll see if he's ready to start. But I might give him some emergency starting duties when he gets off the DL. Might even put him and Babone kind of in a platoon type situation in that fifth spot. But some other guys here that I picked up in the offseason and trading, going to give them some chance in the bullpen. Mainly Furlong, which I traded, I think, Vandenhoeven for him. He's a lefty. He's got good overall ratings individually. Good, for the most part, a good stamina. I'm going to add him in the bullpen for now as a lefty specialist, but he might be an emergency starter. Depends on how he turns out. And then I think there was one other guy who I picked up, Juan Mendoza. I picked him up with a trade of Cameron, Tennessee. This guy has a 5-star potential. I don't know if he could potentially make it as a closer even, but for now he's just going to be probably a middle reliever. And then looking at the lineup, there's going to be some experiments here for the most part. I picked up Keibert Ruiz. He's going to be my starter this year until hopefully Quarantine can develop a little bit defensively. But with the trades that I made, getting rid of Vandenhoeven and picking up Lohman, I'm pretty thin at first base right now. Lockyer, who was a first-round pick a few years ago, he's not going to develop. I gave him a shot last year, and he just didn't look good, and his ratings have really stumbled. He's a little bit better from OSA, but my head scout now has him at a 1.5 potential player. Don't really think he's going to develop. And so I went with Padilla, another guy who's come up through the system. He was a scouting discovery. He has had some really decent years in AAA, or not AAA, but in the minors until he got to AAA last year, and he stumbled a little bit. But he is the best overall rated first baseman I have right now. His defense is really shaky, but his ratings offensively look really good against right-handed pitching. 12 contact, 14 power, 19 eye. So with the offense being so bad last year, I'm hoping that he'll at least give me an improvement there over Vandenhoeven. And then the new guys, Mott second, Lohman, those guys are going to be pretty much in the middle of the lineup in fourth and fifth. I think against lefties, I'm going to have Ma batting third and setting up Lohman at the cleanup spot. Perez is still at short, going to be batting second in the lineup. Then I got Vargas, who hopefully stays healthy this year. He's going to stay at the leadoff spot. And then I got a few guys here with Kevin Cox looking good. He's 3 stars with a 3.5 potential. This guy has some solid individual ratings up and down the line, and he's just 25, about to turn 26. A little bit of iffiness, I guess, against lefties, but man, against righties, he's just rated very highly. And I had a lot of trade offers for him in the offseason, so I think the rest of the AI is really picking up that this guy's a pretty good player overall. And then Andres, who I feel like has a future at center, maybe left, but probably center. Great speed, great defender. Overall, his ratings are pretty good. He's going to strike out a lot, but I'm going to give him a chance, play him quite a bit in spring training, but I don't think he's ready yet. He's only been as high as AA, and he looked good at AA, but he might need another year in the minors before he develops enough to be a starter in the majors, and he's just 23, so he's got some time. And then Skylar Dutch, who's been on the team for the last several years, he's a good player to have off the bench, and going to give him some time. And Eddie Tipton and Dusty Stern, it'll probably come down to which of those guys has a better spring. Dusty Stern has looked really good in the minors, really good. I traded away Josh Ash for this guy who um, turned out to be the right trade because he got injured early last year, missed a lot of time, but he might develop a little bit too. He's just 26. So that's what we're looking at right now, starting spring training. I'm going to go ahead and sim through spring training, and we'll see how we look. And I don't know if I expect too much from the team right now, but it'd be nice if we can finish about 500 or so in spring training. So let's go ahead and get started. And I'm already getting some trade offers still, or at least still some teams trying to trade me starters, but I'm not seeing too much. I'm not seeing too much to my advantage when they do offer me those. So we're 1-1. Minor's injury there, nothing major. So looks like we're probably going to be at 500 in this first week. Yep, 2-2. Gonna get some more games in before I start looking at individual performance. So we're keeping it up around 500 right now. 5-3, 6-3, 6-4. So we're 6-5. Take a look at the news real quick. There's still some relievers out there that are pretty good in minor and free agency, but not too much else. And as it has been for the rest of this playthrough, starters go early. I don't think there's anybody above a 3-star available in free agency right now. This is a big blow for Seattle. They lost their closer for the year. And Andy Cornell, seems like he was a former Philly. He was. Did I trade this guy? No, I must have let him go. 3 stars, not a bad. Maybe if you don't use him in too much high leverage, he might be a good option. He had a good season for Baltimore last year. So spring coverage. Let me see if we got any leaders here in batting. Well, how about that? Andres is leading the league in hits. And for pitching, just at a quick glance, I don't see any Phillies leading the league. Austin looks like he's doing pretty good so far. Let me give it one more week, and then we'll take a look at individual performance. Six and 5, but it's not too bad of a start, really. So Vladimir Guerrero Jr. out for 6 months. That's a big blow for the Yankees. And trade proposal from the Yankees. Danny Martin, who I've seen a few times come up. He's listed as a reliever. He could be a starter, but I don't think he's probably not going to be rated all that highly as a starter. But they're wanting Kevin Cox. I mean, he has come up several times in trade offers this year, so I'm not going to let him go right now. So we're still 6 and 5, maybe have lost again. Another trade proposal. Wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, Kevin Cox again. Their Minnesota Twins would trade Eric Grove, who's a sensational offensive catcher here, looks like. 4 stars rated right now with 5 potential, but that defense, holy cow, that's not very good at all. But offensively, he's looking solid. Just wouldn't want to have a 5, a guy rated at 5 overall ability at catching. I wouldn't want to depend on him to start. And another pitcher, this one from Cincinnati. This guy has had a good run for Cincinnati in a way. Double digits in wins for 3 straight years. Last year was a good year for him. 2 wins above replacement. But don't like that he's fragile. That might be a problem. So I'll stay away from him right now. And we are still winning. Another trade proposal. And this is Arizona. They would give me 30-year-old Mike Piccirilli, 2-star first baseman, weak defense. They would give for Dusty Stern. Nah, I would rather have Stern. I really think, even though he hasn't really been tested, Padilla would be just as good a choice for me at first as this guy. And plus, I think Piccirilli, no, he's just $820,000, not too bad in terms of salary. So we're 9-5, 9-6, maybe 9-7 here. Another trade proposal, the Cubs, and again, it's Kevin Cox. The Cubs would give me 28-year-old Brad DeWolf, who is listed as a reliever, could be a starter. He was a starter for him last year. So, God, he's 68 starts in 2 years. That's pretty good, but I want to hang on to him. If nothing else, maybe I could, if Andrus develops, some of these other outfielders develop, I might trade Cox later on, middle of the season, if I need to. So let's look at, hit the wrong button. Let's look at the spring so far. So we're 9-7. Took a little bit of a dive there at the last part of the week, but I'm happy with that performance. Nationals and Braves are playing a little bit better. Reds, Pirates having a good start. Dodgers, Rockies, Giants 3-13. They're really struggling. American League Central, don't have anyone above 500. So let me look at the pitching staff first, and we'll look at the pitching staff in terms of their stats for the spring. So Babon not looking too good in that 5th spot, 6 ERA, but Berger not looking good either. I don't expect he's going to have a spot on this team. He's getting up there in age, and he's not really showing much. He's a guy who I drafted back in 2027. I used him a couple years, but he just did not develop overall. So I am not gonna waive him right now. I'll let him keep on, but he's not gonna stick around. Cantelmi looking pretty good in his 3 starts, 3.38 ERA. Ude's looking pretty good. Yoakum, not too bad, but McSparren, I don't know what's going on with this guy, because his numbers, he has 4 solid pitches, pretty decent stamina. His main ratings, stuff, movement, control are great. He's coming off a terrible year, 7-17. He had the most losses in the National League, a 5.52 ERA. I don't know what's happened to him, but his morale, it looks like he's unhappy with the team record. Maybe if we start winning, he'll get better, but I just don't know what's going on with him. And then I'm using Wildbacker, who has only got 1 start, but man, 4 innings, 8 strikeouts. And then Austin's looking good. Montalvo's looking good. The bullpen, for the most part, the guys who I need to look good outside of Wright, they're all looking good. I don't expect Carvente, even though he's been up and down several years for me, I don't expect he's going to make it. I don't think he'll have a spot here. Caps, got some issues with him too, so I'm not expecting too much from some of those guys. Now looking at the batting stats for the spring, Ruiz, 214 average, not looking too great. But Padilla has looked good, 313. He's looking good so far. 11 walks, I like that. His on base percentage is really high. Ma's looking really good, 366 with 2 home runs. Lohman looking good. Perez, though, man, he's injured. I hope that's not something serious. Kevin Cox is struggling a little bit. Andrus is having a great spring. Vargas struggling a little bit. So if Andrus develops a little bit, I mean, he can play. Now he can play right field. That would be really good. I could put him in right, Cox in left, keep Vargas in center, although Vargas is not as good defensively as he used to be. He does have pretty decent range and arm and air, but his position rating is really low at center. So let's go ahead and see what how we finish up. But I'm worried about that Perez injury. Yeah, he's going to be out for the year. Holy cow. That's a tough blow. Because I really do not have anyone who would be able to perform like he did at short. Man, that's a big blow for me. He's a great defensive player. He's had 2 solid offensive years for me, really. Over 200 runs scored in those 2 years, 86 stolen bases. And now he's done for the year. So and that's really he's on a vesting option, so he's done for me, period. He's not going to be back. And I've been giving this Condry a chance. He's good defensively. He's not ready for I just don't think he's ready for the majors yet. So could I put Ma at shortstop? That might be something I'll have to do, but I'd rather have him at second. Marmolejo is rated very poorly at shortstop. So let me take a look at the news real quick. Man, that was a big blow. I'll take a look just to make sure there's nothing out there in free agency still at short. They're showing Barge, who could, well, he's rated only 1 at short. Geraldo, he doesn't look too bad. He's got good defensive ratings overall. And who's this guy? Alvarado, he could play potentially, he could play short, although he's only rated 11 there. So what I'm going to do is, it's going to be a gamble, but I'm going to keep Condry at short for right now. And let him get some time there, honestly. Maybe play Marmolejo every 6 game. And probably not going to put him that high in the lineup right now. So I'll move things around. I might even put Andres up there at second. And then against lefties, I'll put him in. I'll leave him hitting second there. This is going to be a tough one to overcome, though, I feel like. And then I know we may not see too much, but we'll see. Didn't want to do that. Who's that? Skylar Dutch. All right, let's go ahead. Then we did pick up a win there, but we're 10-8, looks like. But let's go ahead and finish out. Pretty big win there. So Minnesota, they're wanting to trade for Kevin Cox, Zion Laird, a starter. Not going to do that right now. Even though Cox is struggling a little bit in spring training. So we're up to 12-10. And let's see, getting close to the end here. 12 and 11 with how many games? 2 games left. Nope, got more than that. Let me see how many games we got left. So let's play this last week, and then we'll take a look at individual performances. And another trade proposal. And it's for Kevin Cox. It's another pitcher. Pretty good numbers from him, but still gonna hang on to Cox for a while. So here we are at 13-11. Oh, big loss, 16-3. Texas, another pitcher. I just don't feel like that's for Vargas. I just don't feel like we're going to do that. So 13-12. Another win. Chicago, another pitcher. And he's listed as fragile. Not good control. Don't want to do that. So we're 14-12, 14-13. Jaime Deal. Man, he's got some good numbers. And he is a true starter. But, man, the personality's really not good. So now we lose that last game. We got a trade proposal from the Mets. Another pitcher here for Cox. Don't want to do that. Eric Madrak, that's a pretty big injury. He's out for 2 months for Tampa Bay. He's been a good pitcher overall for them. 116 wins. Pretty good. Let's see, Zach Clark out. So we were unable to finish above 500 in spring training, and I'm pretty sure it was Perez who hurt us there because we were doing pretty good up until then. Looks like the Mets and the Nationals had a good spring. Braves struggled a little bit, 12-16. And then the Reds had a good spring. San Francisco, 6-22. Very tough year for them. The American League West, they didn't have anybody with a losing record. Detroit was 8-20. They struggled. Twins looked good. Tampa Bay, 16-12. But I want to take a look at how we looked individually. And so Babon came along and looked okay for the most part. 5.40 ERA. Cantelme, decent. McSparron looked a little bit better in his last start. Ood looked really good. 2.70 ERA, 3 wins and 5 starts. Yoakum didn't look terrible. Compton had a good spring. Furlong looked good too. Those two guys are going to be on the team. Medina, 10 innings, no earned runs. Mendoza didn't look too good, but he's going to make the staff. And Montalvo had a good spring. He's going to be there. Walbacher looked good. 3 starts. He got 1 win, just a 2.25 ERA. I don't think he's ready, though, still for a full-time starter, but I will have him on the team in the bullpen. And then Austin had a good spring. So I'm going to have – I usually go with 12 pitchers. So I'm going to have to deliberate here because that looks to be about 15 to 18 maybe pitchers that I'm going to have to take care of, get rid of maybe 6 or so. And then for the lineups, Ruiz, he's going to be the starter. Offensively, didn't look all that great. But Padilla looked really sharp, 2.81 ERA. Ma had a great spring, 4 home runs, 11 RBIs. Lohman, a great spring. Kevin Cox picked it up a little bit, 3 home runs. So he's got some power, good eye. He picked up 10 walks. Andres stumbled. Definitely stumbled there towards the back end of spring training. Vargas was okay, though, overall. He's going to be starting regardless. But I'm really going to have to decide what I need to do at short. I mean, Condrey is not ready to go right now. I really think he's going to start either at AA or AAA. He's only in spring right now because he's rated so highly by OSA. He's a potential 4-star, but he's been higher at times. I had to put him on the 40-man or lose him in the Rule 5 draft. So right now, what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to pick up one of these guys who can play short. I can't really rely on Marmolejo or definitely can't rely on Condrey. He's just too young. So a guy like Alvarado here, even though he's listed as fragile, he can play short. He's got pretty good individual offensive ratings. Or Geraldo, who I looked at earlier, a little bit better shortstop defensively, still fragile, but more than likely I'm going to have to give one of those guys a shot because I can't see going with the rookie right now. So that's what I'm going to have to do offline. Had we not had that Perez injury, I would have said, we had a pretty decent spring. Got a good look at some of the guys I needed to get a good look at, and pitching staff, I think, looked pretty good. So it's really going to be, can those new pickups, Ma and Lohman, can they play like they played in spring training and pick up the rest of the team? If so, we might be able to be competitive this year. And wouldn't rule out the playoffs, but I would say wild card would be the best bet. But I'm going to go ahead and get offline, get ready for the start of the season. I'm going to pick up one of those guys to be my shortstop for the year, and then I will come back on next episode. We'll just go ahead and start the season off and see what we can do. We've got some money still for free agents. I think we'll have, with the upcoming free agents that we've got, Yoakum for sure. Kentelme might be somebody I would be interested in signing again, but I think he's going to want a lot of money. But we'll have a little bit of room maybe next year to play around with in the off season. And hopefully one of these guys, maybe even Espinal when he comes off, can turn into a solid starting pitcher. And, offense gets a little bit better. Maybe this year, if we can't make a run, maybe next year we can get back to the playoffs and compete for that World Series. But as always, thanks for watching. We'll see you next episode when we start out the 2034 season.